guys, Tiffany here of Tiffany Gordon Cosplay, and today's cosplay tutorial is over how to make Maka's Demon Scythe, or Soul Evans, from the anime Soul Eater. So let's begin. And for this project, you're gonna need 2, 4, and 10mm EVA foam, CPVC pipe size 3/4 inch, Sharpies, box cutter and X-Acto knives, cutting mat, Cos Tools hole drill kit, Cos Tools circle cutter, a Dremel and sanding drum, heat gun, contact cement glue, and of course all the safety gear. And all of these items will be linked in the video description. And also your 2D blueprint, which is available on my website www.tiffanygordoncosplay.com, and you can see the link in the description. And we're gonna start off by talking about the blade part. And for this, I traced the blueprint blade part onto 10mm EVA foam 2 times. And using a box cutter, cut them out. And for the bottom part of the blade, that is the zigzag part, I traced that section onto 4mm EVA foam twice and cut it out as well. Next step is going to be heat treating with a heat gun all of these pieces of EVA foam. This is really going to help for having the glue have a much stronger bond in the end, so do this first. Next, to glue the pieces together, and for this I used contact cement glue, applying it on both parts of the blades, letting it fully dry, and then attaching them together. Remember, always wear a respirator when using contact cement glue. And after they were attached, I then traced the zigzag bottom section onto the blade so I knew where to apply my glue for that. And again, did contact cement glue both pieces, let them dry, and then attach together. Now for sanding, and for this I took the blade to my workbench and used a 2-inch sanding drum to sand the outer section of the blade flat first, and then followed up with rounding all of the edges. Now to talk about the center part where the face will attach to. And for this, I used Cos Tools circle cutter to cut a small hole that would be the size that my CPVC pipe would go through, and then followed up with a larger hole that would go around that part for the same size thickness that I wanted. These in the end are all going to be stacked together and glued, and this will give you the most structural support for this piece. And a little helpful trick for this is the smaller circle. Once you have that cut, put the middle section back in the place to cut your large circle around it. This will give it a much easier guideline for you to know where the center is. And after cutting lots and lots of circles, I then glued them all together. When stacking this many pieces of EVA foam together, it can get it really tricky for it to look flat on the surface. So my little trick for this is to cut a 4mm piece of EVA foam, apply glue to it to that, as well as your stack of circles, and then attach them together. This way the outer part will be smooth, but you'll still have the structural integrity on the inside. And because this was also 2 thicknesses different, I did a sheet of 2mm for the bottom section on this as well. Once they were covered, I then used an X-Acto knife and cut off the extra trim. It won't matter if there's a little bit of a gap, just because you can attach your blade and cover it, so you will never see it. Now for the face part, and for this I traced all of the pieces onto 4mm EVA foam, and I did each one twice, so that way you would have the eye on both sides of your scythe. And then proceeded to cut each of them out with an X-Acto knife. There are also some decorative triangle pieces, and for these I cut out of 2mm. And once everything was cut, I then went back to the workbench and rounded all of the edges. Now to talk about how I did the key spine part, I guess is what we will call it. And for this, I traced it onto 10mm EVA foam 2 times and then cut it out with a box cutter. And for the circle sections, I used Cos Tools hole drill kit, their largest size, and then cut out the 3 holes of one piece. And to make sure it mirrored onto the other side, I laid it on top and then cut it through to the next one. And next, heat treated the pieces and then again applied contact cement glue to both sides, let them dry, and then attach them together. And one more time back to the workbench. And again, we're going to use the sanding drum and make all of the edges flat first and then round them. You will also want to do a little bit of the circles if you got them a little out of line, like I did. The last part that we're going to cut out is the top part of the scythe, which is going to be a flathead screwdriver like piece. And for this, I cut out 2 circles from the 10mm EVA foam, and then one of them I did where I drew 2 lines in the center, cut it out, glued the pieces together, and then back to the workbench for sanding it flat and rounding the edges. Now that all of our main components are done, we can start assembling! And to start off, I traced where the face was going to go onto the center section, as well as where I wanted each of the side pieces, the key part and the blade part, to align on it. This is very important because this is going to tell you where you're going to need to sand down the section. Because this is a circle and our blade is flat at the end, you're going to want to sand this part flat. So you will have 2 flat pieces come together. It will give you the best structural support as well as best bond together for strength. And once that's done, more contact cement glue onto all of the pieces, and then we can slowly start to assemble them. Starting off with the decorative triangle pieces, then the top flathead piece, followed by all of the face parts, then the key spine part, and then last, the blade. And again, you really need to apply the glue onto both parts and then let them dry before attaching them together. This will give you the strongest bond possible, and it's really important because the blade part weighs a lot. And so if your connecting part is not really well attached, it will come off. And the very last step for this scythe is to insert the CPVC pipe into the body, and you're done! And it's up to you if you'd like to glue these 2 parts together, or you can leave them unglued so you can disassemble it and transport it easier. And that, guys, is how I made Maka's Demon Scythe, or Soul Evans, from the anime Soul Eater. I hope this video was helpful for you to help make your own, and if so, let me know in the comments and subscribe to the channel. Also, a big thank you to all of my company supporters, as well as all of my new legendary member supporters on YouTube. And I will see you for our next video. Much love, guys!